Hello, I'm Ajai Dittmar. I'm a resident of Cedar Rapids. I live along the west bank of the Cedar River. I was born here. I've spent the majority of my 51 years of life as a resident of Cedar Rapids, and more than half of that I've lived in Time Check. I'm here to express my disappointment in the city staff, who have relentlessly dragged my neighbors and I through financial and emotional ruin. 15 years ago, we had one flood. Some people pressured the city to buy their houses out, and I totally understand that. People were overwhelmed. They were old. They didn't have the resources. Not to mention that the rentals outnumbered the homeowners by quite a lot, so a lot of people had no choice. Then there were people like me who loved their home and wanted to stay. After all, it was a one-time event in the city, and in a one-time event for my house. My house didn't flood in 93, it didn't flood in 2016, and that was a 22-foot flood, and I think it's the second largest flood ever recorded in Cedar Rapids. The 2008 flood was called a 1,000-year flood for a reason. It was a confusing time for a lot of us. We went to a lot of meetings. We received a lot of information. I was exhausted emotionally, physically, mentally. But one thing was made very clear to us. The acquisition that the city eventually offered was voluntary. Even in the city's own words. You said you wouldn't take our houses from us. You would never declare eminent domain. Everywhere, the city made it this clear that we aren't going to take your properties. We're not going to take your houses. It was in the newspaper. It was on the news. It was in all these meetings. So when we received our flood insurance money, we rebuilt our home. We put it back. We put it back together. It really, I saw a lot of people leave. But I was fine with that. I just called it my piece of heaven on the river. The city's come up with several flood protection plans. I've even seen one that has included our homes. It really hurts me that the city has embraced bars in their flood protection. They're protecting buildings that weren't even there in 2008. And they're not including the people. We'll find a way to protect homes that have been along the river since the 1800s. My home has been there for 123 years. Now we're expected to give our homes up for flood protection. Here you are right by the river. You have protection, but you don't want to protect us? This building's just a stone's throw away. I want to address another issue. Since you're taking our homes, just remember that the voluntary property acquisition gave people 107%. When you guys approached my neighbor, Matt, you didn't even offer him 100%. And the law states that you can offer up to 130%. So if you guys are going to take our homes by force, which is what you're doing, at least give us the money that we deserve. We rebuilt. We've been trying to move on. The only one that's not allowed to move on from the flood, not allowed to recover, is us. Us in the Time Check neighborhood. And if you guys would have just given the 130% in the first place, we wouldn't have to hire a lawyer. We wouldn't have to go to court. Really, you told us that you were never going to declare eminent domain. I have people that are in their 70s, lived in these houses their whole lives. One has brain cancer. She doesn't even know what's going on. And you're going to take our homes from us. We've suffered more than anyone in this city as far as being abused by the city. We have suffered the derecho dump. Just every time you turn around, We're going to take your house. We're going to take your house. Why can't you just let us live our lives? Leave us alone.